I'm interested to know, since you, okay, probably we're going to go chronologically, but now that you mentioned, what things did you learn in Colombia? I mean, this...
Apart from dancing? Salsa and merengue?
So, oh, that's from my city. I'm from Cali.
Ah,
Well,
well,
what's-
caleño.
all Latinos dance. I mean, what's the deal with that? What's
I don't know. It's...
You know, I was single then, so that's the only way to get. I think that for me, Colombia was a big lesson because that was the first time that I saw how a nation can be divided.
Sorry that I interrupt you, but it's important to mention when you were there.
I was in the 1990s.
There was
time of
the 80s and the 90s were difficult.
Yeah, this was the time of the when I was there at the end of the Pablo
Medellin
Escobar
cartel.
area, the cartels, but still bombs were in the street, and the personal security was very, very low.
So you left Israel to a more dangerous place.
Absolutely. I'm always telling people, Israel is a safe country,
Yeah.
believe me. Really, if you look at the statistics, it's one of the safest places in the
compare.
world.
Yes.
How did you understand the Colombian situation? What was the picture that you had? How did you see the problem?
For me, it's purely economic. It's purely economic, and that's the tragedy of all South America, if I can say. It's about how to divide the wealth, because Colombia, it's an amazing wealthy country. It's the division of wealth that makes the problems or that Colombia was facing, and I think still faces. So it's the division of wealth. I come from Israel. When I grew up in Israel in 1970s, 80s, I grew up in a nice city, nice neighborhood, Ramat Sharon, but you didn't see very rich people and very poor people. Most Israelis were middle class, up or down. Yes, I'm originally from South America, but I left very, very young, and I come from Uruguay. That also it doesn't have a lot of this, disparity. But when you arrive to Colombia and you see people that are, on one hand, extremely rich,
Absolute billionaires.
very well educated, very refined, and then you go to the poor parts, and you go to inland, and you see that there is really
the absence of
really, I don't say equality, because it's a democratic country, and you can succeed in life and you can become, but the division or that's really shocked me, and I think that's something that still persists in South America. In Colombia, it took a path of the narcos or the cartel. That's a different path from other countries. But the vivity of Colombia was amazing. The joy of life, the music, the everything else. It's really, on the other hand, gives you a lot of hope.
we're told, or we're said to be some of the happiest people in the world.
It's just something natural, I guess, right? For you. But
Yeah.
you come from a middle-class family, I guess, Fernando, right?
Yeah.
Was it dangerous to go out to the street? where
Yeah,
you
we
live?
had bodyguards going to university,
Yeah.
things like that, because you don't know when something was gonna happen.
Right. So you watch Narcos on Netflix?
No,
I hate them.
no,
Yeah,
sorry.
No, you didn't.
no, because I feel that
You've been there.
no, it's not the Hollywood version. What
Right.
can I say? No, I have to tell you that I saw the trailers and I thought it's not interesting.
So on
What kind of seeds were planted during your time in Colombia that we could see today? Projects or programs?
Yeah. So unfortunately, at the time, we did a lot of cooperation in terms of security and in the army. That was one. If you remember later, Israelis were involved, for example, in the not kidnapping, but saving Ingrid Betancourt.
Oh yeah.
For example, and not always in a positive way. The image of Israel in Colombia, because we are very much contacting that. I prefer to talk about. I did a lot of work with Israelis that were kidnapped as well by the FARC and the ELN, the two different guerrilla groups, and I worked for a year and a half to try to secure some guys that were kidnapped, and they were released afterwards, and a lot of work in the field of actually milk production. Yeah. So basically, most of the milk production in Colombia nowadays is based upon Israeli technology and Israeli.
Well, my brother used to work for one of the largest milk manufacturers in Colombia, Alpina.
Yeah, so we did
Probably heard.
something. Alpina was very high end and
Yeah.
So
expensive.
how does that work? How does I mean like okay, so it's governments?
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking milk specifically,
Yeah.
but like it's governments.
Exchange of
Government.
technology.
It's governments cooperate.
Absolutely. For example, this project used to call Mega Leche,
Okay.
like
Mega milk.
Mega milk. And we brought some. First of all, a lot of Colombians came to Israel to study how, because the Israeli cow is the most rentable cow.
All right.
In terms of how much milk we produce from there, it's like 5 times more than
Really?
regular. Yeah, that's
Why is that?
because we treat the cow as a resource that you have to invest in, not just to put it and give milk. Each cow in Israel have a sensor to see how much salt it has, so how much water to drink,
So
how
it's
much food
something
to bring
other
it.
places don't do?
No,
Okay.
no.
You know that.
And
It just
This
Just
is
go
my
to the
course.
field.
I'm going to be a diplomat. This is my course about my country.
So basically, and also you don't see cows in the field in Israel.
Right.
First of all, we don't have a lot of fields, but secondly,
Right.
we see milk or dairy as an industry.
Right. We perfected it.
In general, because of lack of resources, we see agriculture as an industry. And therefore, it has to be planned, it has to be well executed, and this is something we did in the north of Colombia for the poor people, how to get more profit out of it, and it's more the production of milk. It's cooperativism,
But what I mean
so
is-
how do we do it?
No, I mean also like where the government and business connect, because there is a
Yeah.
business side to this, right?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I'm a diplomat. I always tell I'm like a Polish officer. I don't speak about money. It
Okay.
has benefits, of course.
Right,
Because
right.
if you introduce a technology, we expect them afterwards to buy it. It's not a must, but
yeah.
Right.
I bring an Israeli producer. He will bring the technology that he brings, and then somebody else will copy it. As for example, the drip irrigation.
Right.
That was an Israeli invented, and now
Actually, my cousin went to study in Israel about drip
We're kind of
irrigation.
famous for that. Yeah, that one I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
and cherry tomatoes and stuff like that.
Right.
So this is what I remember. This is the seeds that we are. So now, I don't know if you know, but the prices of milk went down dramatically because of that. Because you have more production and it's not centralized in some companies.
So it's
But it's,
kind of
it's
crazy.
interesting what you're mentioning because, well, you lived in Colombia at a time where we
Exactly.
also had to develop
Exactly.
the same skills, the
Mhm.
same suspicions, or the same kind of like, is this going to be today? Is this going to be?
Absolutely.
So I can relate to.
I
to
lived.
that.
I lived
Yes.
a few blocks from Club El Nogal that
Oh,
was
duh.
bombed. So and you are not get used to it. I was in the army for 5 years, and I saw blood and I saw stuff. But it's different, and mostly is you think about your family basically. You don't think about yourself.
The thing that hits me the most is how arbitrary that was. There was not an enemy.
Right.
It was just population.
Violent.
Population.
Yeah.
Just anybody.
Right.
It was just trying to destabilize the country. That was the worst thing about it.
That